The first day of the tampering period is kind of in the books. Again, it's about midnight. So, if anything does happen after I record this, I obviously will make a video. But what we're going to do is I have James Daniels' contract information. We're also going to look at what the video is titled because Joey Bosa apparently has a choice between the 49ers and the Dolphins. And we're going to look at the best available free agents still out there. You'll be surprised some of the names that are still out there. What is up, Finn fans? So the Dolphins have made a few moves today. Nothing crazy, but again, they kind of didn't really touch much of the contracts that they could. They left Tua's contract alone. Austin Jackson, they haven't touched his contract. Steeler hasn't touched his contract. Aaron Brewer, Brooks, you restructure those guys' numbers or give them new contracts. The Dolphins can easily gain another 40 million in cap space, so they could do whatever they want with whoever they want, however they want. Pause on that. So there's a lot that could still be done, and we'll see how everything pans out. I'm going to talk about James Daniels' contract. Obviously, we're going to talk about the title of the video. We're going to look at who's available, and then I'm going to talk about kind of the approach the Dolphins are taking. So if you're wondering, like, that's the order that I'm going to talk about these things. Also, don't forget, tomorrow for me, tonight, if you're watching this on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I will be over on the Die Bar podcast interviewing Teron Armstead. So it's going to be a good one. Go check that out. So this is James Daniels' contract with the Miami Dolphins. It's a 3-year, $24 million contract, averaging $8 million, signing bonus of $6 million. Guaranteed at signing 7.255, total guarantee $10,735. But you look at his contract, it is a beautiful contract for the Miami Dolphins. It is a low risk, high reward contract for the Miami Dolphins. It's a 1-year, $4.255 million contract. In a nutshell, that's what it is. He came off the Achilles tear on week 4, like I showed you in the video that came out a couple hours ago. He was putting up fantastic numbers before he tore his Achilles. And you look at the contract, this year his cap hit is $4.25 million, right? Next year, if they cut him, nothing. No dead cap whatsoever. $9.87 million goes back onto the cap space. So if he does get injured, or if he cannot stay healthy, or if he can't make the field in 2025, no harm, no foul. We cut him and we save all the money. It is a fantastic contract, and it makes me very happy that they actually went out and got James Daniels, because he's one of the guys that I liked. And I would love to show you a video, but the NFL is being real sticklers about showing content of theirs on YouTube without, dealing with copyright claims, which I got to figure out how, the fair right use law and all that stuff. There's stuff I got to deal with, but fantastic, absolutely fantastic contract, and I'm very happy with the signing. Now, they ain't done, so we'll talk about that, but let's talk about the title of this video. And you got this right here. So this is from Michael Silver, and he initially says the 49ers and Dolphins have each made offers to free agent edge rusher Joey Bosa in the same relative price range. He'd get less than $10 million in 2025 in either scenario. Then he comes back out and says, I've talked to someone familiar with these discussions who disputes that any offer was made by the 49ers and insists that these numbers are wrong. There are fluid discussions, and obviously proposals/scenarios can change. If possible, Bosa will get more than $10 million from a team. But what you have to realize is what he said is he'd get less than $10 million in 2025. And that's the interesting part, because again, the Miami Dolphins are going to have more cap space next year, again, especially if they move on from Tyreek Hill. It's an instant 36 point whatever $million cap savings. But what's interesting to me is that it seems to be coming down to the 49ers and the Miami Dolphins to get Joey Bosa. Now, again, Some are familiar with these discussions saying that the 49ers haven't made any offer. The 49ers are getting decimated in free agency, just losing all these players to trade Debo, like all this crazy stuff is happening. But here's what Joey Bosa has to decide. Does he want to go play with his brother in San Francisco, or does he want to come home to Miami and play for the football team his father played for and not have to pay state taxes? And also, do you want to go play for the San Francisco 49ers, who lost their safety, their linebacker, their corner, their defensive lineman, like all of these players, or do you want to come to Miami? So it's like, this is something he needs to decide on. Either or, I'm fine with it. If he decides, hey, I'm going to go to San Fran, or hey, I'm going to go to wherever, let's say the Chiefs or whatever, I'm fine with it. You know, no harm, no foul. He comes to Miami, cool. What does the contract look like? That's the first thing I'm always thinking. And can you stay healthy? Because it'll be a sick rotation to have him with Chubb, with Phillips, and with Chop. Now, you guys already know the guys I would add was Azeez Ojulari. He's projected to get a 1 year $5 million, or Matthew Judon, who's projected to get a 1 year $4.5 million. So they'd be much cheaper than Bosa. And Azeez Ojulari already kind of is a little bit more, he stays healthier longer and a little bit more productive lately. So that's just my thought process. I will keep you guys updated on the Bosa situation. Where does he want to go? Miami or San Fran? That's apparently right now, that's his two choices right there. Okay. So now let's look at the best free agents still available. Now this is the 33rd team. And this is what they have. And I like this because they show who got signed already. Like Sam Darnold is now with Seattle. Justin Fields is with the Jets. And somebody came out and said, I want to find this for you guys. And it made me laugh. I was like, oh my God. And it's not like a biased person who's a Dolphin fan or whatever. Someone came out and said something hilarious. And I retweeted it. And okay. So Warren Sharp came out and said there seems to, here, hold on, let me show you what he says. There seems to be a consensus that because the Steelers won some games with Justin Fields last year, he played well. He did not. A deep analysis of what Justin Fields did and did not do last year. I thought this was hilarious. Absolutely hilarious, because you know for a fact Jet fans are sitting there with the signing of Justin Fields being like, we're going to the Super Bowl, we're gonna fight Buffalo for the division. We're back, baby. We're back. Take a breath. So Jimmy Garoppolo is with the Rams. Josh Dobbs is with the Patriots. That's a good signing. I didn't know about that one. Jarrett Stidham is with the Broncos, and Nick Mullins is with the Jaguars. Now, there's still a lot of good quarterbacks out there. Aaron Rodgers still out there, but Gardner Minshew still out there, and Jameis Winston. Those are two guys I wanted instead of Zach Wilson, which they have to update because he's now a Dolphin. But you know, Marcus Mariota's still out there. There's still a lot of guys out there. Now, running backs. Najee Harris signs a 1 year deal with the Chargers. I think he's got a big amount of cash. Aaron Rodgers goes back to the Vikings. Dare goes back to the Texans. Elijah Mitchell signs with the Chiefs. And Perrin signs with the Bengals. Still a lot of, I want J.K. Dobbins. I would love to add J.K. Dobbins. You guys already know he's projected, but per PFF, to get a 2 year, $7 million contract, which is $3.5 million a year. I think he would match perfectly with Devon Achane and Jalen Wright, because you got those two guys who are very quick, and then you got J.K. Dobbins, the bull. I think that 1-2-3 punch, and obviously I would draft the running back, but I think that rotation in that backfield would be fantastic, especially because he's coming 2 years off of his injury. But even like Kenneth Gainwell would be a nice addition. I wouldn't, not really AJ Dillon. To me, the two I like is Kenneth Gainwell and J.K. Dobbins at running back. Then you got wide receiver T. Higgins, franchise tag. Devontae Adams with the Rams, 2 years, $46 million. Chris Godwin back with the Bucks. Marquise Brown with the Chiefs. Resigns with the Chiefs. Everyone thought he was possibly going to go to Buffalo. Damon Brown with the Jaguars. Then you got Josh Palmer signs with the Bills, 3 years, 36. He's getting $12 million a year. Tutu Atwell goes to back to the Rams. Ashton Doolin goes to the Colts, 2 years. Justin Watson signs with the Texans. And Dante Pettis re-signs with the Saints. Also, like I told you guys, Matt Collins went with the New England Patriots, so he's kind of doing the Fitzpatrick move. There's still some wide receivers out there. I want a tall guy, so I'm not really looking at the receivers here. Like, imagine they pull off getting Amari Cooper or something. Like, Amari Cooper might be a late signing, but that'd be interesting if they grab a receiver. I don't think they will. Tight ends. Zach Ertz resigns with the Commanders. Mike Gesicki, good for him getting a contract with the Bengals. John Bates with the Commanders. Austin Hooper signed back with the Patriots. Panthers bring back Tremble. Not really crazy. Hunter Long, though, signing with the Jaguars. Good for him. He was a former Dolphin draft pick. No one really crazy here. Again, I was always of the mindset, Michael Mayer, if he's available, go get him. If not, don't worry about it. Centers, we don't really need a center, so I'm not going to really look at that. Offensive tackle, we don't really need an offensive tackle. Dylan Raduns would be a good guy to bring in. Tyron Smith, I'd like to bring him back. Not him back, but, he's a Jedrick Willis possibility. Now, guards, this is where I hope the Dolphins aren't done, right? So, Trey Smith, franchise tagged. Aaron Banks to the Packers. You got re-signings here. Kappa goes to the Raiders. Robert Jones, former Dolphin, is now a Cowboy. James Daniels with the Dolphins. And Cody Ford with the Bengals. There are some guys here. Will Fries. I want the Dolphins to sign Will Fries. If the Dolphins somehow were like, hey, you know what, Doug? We're going to do exactly what you want. And they sign Will Fries and Brandon Scherf. And all of a sudden we have those 3 guys. They were the people that I said. They go into the draft not needing to take a guard in the first round. They could just take a guard in the second or take a guard in the third and take BPA in the first and second round, which, again, PPA defensive tackles are really big. You can take a tight end, you can take a safety in the first 2 rounds. There's still really good guards out there to bring in, and Will Fries is one of them that I'm keeping my eye on. The other one is... does he have him on here? Greg Van Roten is a good one. How many times did you hear me say his name last year? Did he resign? Tevin Jenkins. But to me, the one I will be ecstatic for is Will Fries. If the Dolphins can sign Will Fries and we get James Daniels, and then that's it, they go into they're like, hey, we're done. I am beyond ecstatic about that one. So I'd love it. Edge rusher. Any crazy moves? Hassan Reddick signs with the Bucks. I didn't really see that one. Khalil Mack goes with the Chargers. He's back with the Chargers. Josh Sweat with the Cardinals. Harold Landry with the Patriots. Obviously, you got the whole Vrabel connection there. Patrick Jones. There's nothing crazy I'm seeing, and there's still a lot of good pass rushers. Joey Bosa, I was just talking about him. Aziz Ojulari, I keep talking about him to you guys. Zadarius Smith gets cut. Again, if they don't get Bosa, they can get probably Zadarius Smith for cheap. Matthew Judon, another guy. You can bring back Emmanuel Ogba if you wanted to. Uchi was good with the Patriots. He could be a cheap rotational option. All of these guys that I'm naming are rotational guys. Because we have our 3 starters. These are guys you can add in as a rotational guy. Kevlon, you know what I'm saying. Chason, he's an option. Yeah, those are the names that I'm like, okay, cool. Is Bosa, Ojulari, Zadarius Smith, Matthew Judon. Those are the names that I'm like, if you're going to add a pass rusher to bring in the rotation and you don't want to pay too much on Bosa, I think Ojulari, Zadarius Smith, and Judon could be a cheaper option in that rotation. Then you have defensive tackle. The Dolphins still need some help at defensive tackle. Jonathan Allen's still out there. That is my big guy. Also Levi. I would love for Levi. If the Dolphins could get both Jonathan Allen and Levi, they go into the draft going BPA. but you don't need to get them both. If you get Jonathan Allen, cool, draft a defensive tackle. If you get Levi, cool, draft a defensive tackle. These are my two number ones that I want the Dolphins to sign. Now, if they don't, and I'm kind of looking at everyone else, Raekwon Davis is back out there. He's a former Dolphin. You could bring back Benito Jones. I wouldn't. Yeah, no. Those are the only two I really want. Is Jonathan Allen for sure, and Levi. I'm not going to try to say his last name. Not at all. Even Javon Hargraves would be a nice addition. Then you're looking at linebacker. Unfortunately, a lot of the linebackers I liked are gone. Nick Bolton, gone. Dre Greenlaw, gone. He signed a 3-year, $35 million contract. That is not a big contract. It's like $11 million a year. Why didn't the Dolphins offer him that? I don't know. Robert Spillane, gone with the Patriots. Now, Terrell Dodson is still out there. Please. Shaq Thompson, imagine we bring him back. That is a guy that the Dolphins desperately need to bring back. Imagine they bring back Jerome Baker. Landon Roberts, I wouldn't be upset bringing him back. Isaiah Simmons. To me, Dotson or Simmons would be a nice addition. That's about it. Jahad Campbell, baby. Jahad Campbell. Hey, if the Dolphins don't address linebackers, say they do bring back Terrell Dodson. Sorry about the sniffle. And they kind of address everything else, like they get Jonathan Allen or they get Levi and they get Will Fries, but they don't really address linebacker. Maybe they grab some lower tier guys or something, or they bring back Anthony Walker, something like that, but they don't really bring in anyone crazy. Then I definitely would Jahad Campbell. I got a text message. I thought it was something crazy that was about to break to you guys. Jahad Campbell. Draft him at 13. That guy's going to be ridiculous at linebacker. Then you got corner. The Dolphins need a corner opposite of Jalen Ramsey. You're going to need a guy opposite Jalen Ramsey. You got like Stephon Gilmore, Darius Slay. Those guys are up there in age. James Bradbury is a possibility. Bring Noah Igbenogany. You got Jeff Okudah, former first-round pick. Tre'Davious White. No one really crazy. The guys that possibly could have helped are gone. Byron Murphy goes back to the Vikings. Carlton Davis is with the Patriots. Javarius Ward goes to the Colts. DJ Reed goes to the Lions. A lot of the guys are gone. So it's like Darius Slay, Stephon Gilmore, James Bradbury. That's kind of where you're looking. Then safety. This is where it gets interesting with the safety. Javon Holland is still out there. Morig gets a 3-year, $51 million contract. You got Binham, got a 4-year, $60 million contract. Tufanga got a 3-year, $45 million contract. Jeremy Chin, 2 years, $16 million. Cisco, 1 year, $10 million. Eric Murray, 3 years, $22.5 million. Javon Holland, I think he thinks his price is higher than it is. Could he come back? Possibly, but you got Justin Reed still out there. Justin Simmons is still out there. You can bring in both Simmons. I'm like, who else could we possibly add? Like, I want to add a guy who's an instant starter, right? That's about it for me. I go either Justin Reed or Justin Simmons. I wanted the Dolphins to get Justin Simmons last year during the time of we brought in Poyer. So Holland, Reed, Simmons. Those are my 3 guys at safety. So overall, when you look at still available safety, I'm looking at Holland, Reed, or Simmons. Corner, probably Slay or Gilmore, just to plug in next to our starters. When it comes to linebackers, Dotson. That's all I can really think of. Just bring back Terrell Dodson. When it comes to defensive tackles, Jonathan Allen and Levi are the big guys that I would like to bring in, one or the other. Pass rushers, not, it doesn't really matter to me, but Bosa, Ojulari, or is it Bosa, Ojulari, Zadarius Smith, Judon. One of them, I'm fine with that. Guard, Will Fries. If they get Will Fries and Brandon Scherf, fantastic. And then everyone else is kind of whatever. And then you give me running backs, either Kenneth Gainwell or J.K. Dobbins, and I'm good to go, baby. I'm good to go. So comment below. There's still a lot available. And the Miami Dolphins are doing things a little different. They're not going overpaying because some of these guys are getting huge contracts that probably didn't really need these huge contracts, and it's kind of hurting everyone else. And I think that's why there's still a lot of good players out there, because teams are like, we're not going to pay that much. I think that's why Greenlaw, I think was his name, the linebacker, Dre Greenlaw, went somewhere else because the Dolphins probably didn't want to go that high. Do I agree? No, I don't think it was that high, but so they're doing it right. And again, there's still a lot of talent out there in free agency. I named about 12 that I would still add to this team, and you add those guys to the team, you could do BPA in the draft. So, and again, to anyone who's saying we don't have any money or let me see if I can, if they have an update on the cap, which they probably don't. There's a lot of moving pieces. So they probably don't have an update on the cap space. Yeah, like right now, if you look at where the Miami Dolphins stand where it comes to cap, the Dolphins are at 18 million in cap space. 18 point. There's a lot of 8 and 1s. So Buffalo's at 6 million. Like, do you think Buffalo's done? Do you think Buffalo's not going to add anyone else at 6 million? Look at New Orleans and Kansas City. Kansas City just added people at negative 16 million. This is what I'm saying. So don't worry about the money. Money can be created and moved around and all that stuff. So a lot's going to happen. Tomorrow, like I said, I'm going to be on the dive bar at 7, talking to Teron Armstead. Outside of that, any news that breaks, you get a video from me. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Be sure to hit the like button. And I'll see you tomorrow. Or today, depending on when you're watching it. But like usual, stay classy. Stay friends out.